Are you the sort of person who likes to fit accessories into your caravan? Watch this carefully. Now maybe you might like the idea of a nice strip halogen light, or in this case you go for the LED version. Or you want a reading light because there isn't a reading light quite in the right place, so you want to add another one. Or maybe you'd like to boost up the pump for one of these high output diaphragm pumps. Fine. Makes sense, as long as you can get to the battery, as long as you understand about fuses, as long as perhaps there's a switch on each of the items. But what cable do you use? Because that is really important. If on an electrically hungry appliance you fit thin cable, it's inclined to overheat. It's like trying to force a lot of water down a pipe that's too narrow. And if it overheats, at worst, it could actually start to melt the insulation. And if there are two cables next to each other and the insulation starts melting, you don't need me to tell you what can happen next. But you've got all these bits of cables, you've lost the drum, which tells you the exact capacity, what they can handle and what they're suitable for. How do you find out which one to use, let's say, for a light? What we need to do first is to take the piece of wire, a wire stripper, and remove part of the outer insulation. Here it's coming off, and now you can see the copper strands inside. What we do now is count these copper strands very carefully, one by one by one. Counting the copper strands is the clue to the cross-sectional measurement in millimetres squares, which gives away the power of the cable to pass current along it. In simple terms, the thicker the cable, the more electrical power you can pass along it for those power-hungry appliances. Now I've done some of these in advance just to prepare things, and this little thin cable here turned out, with a careful check, to have 14 strands. When counting, it comes out at 14 strands. That is the expectation for a cable that is 1 millimetre square, just what you want to run a light, but absolutely unsuitable to run a power-hungry appliance like this diaphragm pump. So to find what you need for that, you're going to look for a fatter cable, and it will in point of fact need 36 strands, and it needs to be 2.5 millimetres square, all of which is explained in the installation instructions of the pump itself. When you buy one of these pumps, there is a short length of cable already connected, and it's up to you to continue that with what you add on. Obviously, the manufacturer is going to provide cable of the right capacity from the start. So this table confirms cable rating, and in this column down here it gives a list of strand numbers for different thicknesses of cable, 14, 21, 28 and so on. Then in the next column you have the cross-sectional area in millimetres square. So a 14 strand cable is 1 millimetre square. It then tells you in this column the current rating in amps, and finally it tells you the Caravan appliance for which it's suitable: interior lights, cable for a fan, cable for a fridge, and, as we've been looking at here, the suitable cable for a diaphragm pump. And that's all it is. Find out from a table what thickness of cable you need, and you won't go wrong.